Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Jamie from Sharon at Sea. Hey, listen, today let's talk about something that seems pretty obvious, but it can affect anyone that goes on a cruise. We're going to talk about how to stay connected on your cell phone without racking up one of those huge, shocking phone bills. Right after this. Alright, so we've all heard one of those horror stories about the family that goes on a cruise. They get home and a week or two later they get their phone bill, their cell phone bill, and they are shocked to see a $3,000 charge on there. Turned out little Johnny was bored in the cabin, picked up a cell phone, decided to connect and try to watch some YouTube videos or something like that. The data adds up, and by the end of the cruise, they are in a huge debt. And little Johnny has racked up a monster phone bill. You know, a lot of first-time cruisers have stories like this, and maybe not to that extreme, but usually folks see a big spike in their phone bill. Today I want to give you some tips on how to avoid these big charges on your phone bill on your next cruise. The first thing you need to know is that when you get on that cruise ship and you leave the port, your phone needs to be switched into airplane mode. Airplane mode is when your phone will not connect to data charges, and it will only be able to be used in Wi-Fi. A lot of folks know this, but even more don't, and that's where people go wrong and get hit with these huge charges. Even if you don't have your phone on you and it's sitting in the cabin and it just happens to be turned on, if you're not in airplane mode, it will consistently try to connect to any data it can find, and anytime it does, it will incur a charge for you. And that's where a lot of those shocking phone bills come from. Now keep one thing in mind, even when you're in airplane mode, you can still connect to the ship Wi-Fi and use those Wi-Fi services that the cruise ships offer. Just make sure that your phone is in airplane mode as soon as you pull out of port on embarkation day. Now the first thing that you're going to want to do before your cruise is contact your cell phone provider. I know there's a lot of different providers out there, and depending on who it is, Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint, or anyone like that, you may have some different options as far as being able to connect while you're at sea. Some providers will have things you can sign up for and programs where you may be able to use your phone at sea to make voice calls or send and receive text messages. But remember, those programs will probably be extremely expensive. You can pay up to $3 a minute for a phone call, and that can add up quickly, or up to 50 cents a text. And usually with those programs, you will not be able to use data. So you can't go online, look at videos, access email, social media, things like that. You're just simply able to make a call or send and receive a text message. Now we know your phone has many uses besides simply communication. Maybe you're using it as a journal to keep track of your experience on the cruise ship. Maybe it's your source of music with earbuds, or you connect to a Bluetooth speaker in your room to quietly enjoy music while you're on your balcony. Maybe you're big into social media and you're into taking lots of photos and videos to share with others. Or you're just one of those folks that can't get away from work and you need to keep up with email and communication with the office. Even once you are switched over to airplane mode, and if you're using a service provided by the ship for Wi-Fi, make sure you are still periodically checking to see that those cell phone ghosts haven't switched your phone back over to regular status and taken it out of airplane mode. We've seen that happen before. Make sure you keep an eye on that. Another thing to remember is that when you get into port on your cruise and you go to visit a new port, a Mexico port, a Caribbean or something like that, maybe the Virgin Islands, maybe Puerto Rico, your cell phone provider may have programs where you are able to use your phone like you normally would back in the States. You may be able to get into a roaming network and make phone calls or send text messages or even use data without incurring charges that are really not much different than you would at home. But double check with your provider before you do that to make sure that they do offer international services. And keep in mind, when you get into port, you'll have to switch out of airplane mode, so when you get back on the ship, don't forget to switch back into it. And more importantly, if you have kids, constantly monitor their phones if they're using them to make sure that they are not in regular mode as well. So how do you communicate with friends and family back home without incurring those big cell phone charges? Well, like I said earlier, your phone plan may offer a way that you can call or send text messages, but that gets really expensive very quickly. I mean, a 30-minute phone call home could be $90 just to tell your cousin, brother, sister, or best friend about the great time that you're having. So the best way to communicate back home is probably going to be to sign up for the cruise ship's Wi-Fi program. Now remember, not all Wi-Fi is created equal. We've had a lot of different experiences. When we were on Royal Caribbean Symphony of the Seas, the Wi-Fi was amazing. We could even stream live with YouTube and do one of our live shows online. We've been on other cruise lines where the Wi-Fi was poor at best, and even sometimes different parts of the ship we'd be able to connect or not connect depending on where we were sitting at the time. We found that photos would take 15 minutes to load to Facebook and the connection just was not reliable. But the one thing that we have always found, and what we usually use to connect with friends and family back home, has been Facebook Messenger. Just sending messages back and forth has worked great for us no matter what Wi-Fi service we use. And we can usually do that in real time. So if we need to get a message to someone back home or ask a question, or if they need to contact us, we can be notified pretty quickly simply by signing up for the least expensive ship's Wi-Fi program, having the phone notifications on, and as long as we're not in anything other than airplane mode, we are able to just pay whatever the cheapest price is the ship offers our Wi-Fi at and not incur any big charges. Now, there are also a number of other apps out these days that will allow you to communicate. Different cell phones have different things. If you have iPhone, you may be able to connect to other iPhone users without big charges. So just make sure that you're researching and you're knowing exactly what you're using and how it will affect you once you're on the ship to avoid any big surprise charges. Also, maybe you just want to keep in touch with each other on the cruise. Maybe you have a family and you have kids you want to keep an eye on. Or you have a large group and you want to be able to communicate that, hey, we're here or we're there or we're going to dinner right now or whatever the case is. Most cruise lines these days will have an app that you can sign up for on the ship. Now, usually that app is what also allows you to use the Wi-Fi program, but without signing up for Wi-Fi, for a couple of dollars, you may be able to hook yourself up with a chat or communication program on that app so you can let people know what you're doing, where you are, where you can be found, and things like that. That'll just work with anyone else on the ship that is also signed up for that same program. For example, on Carnival Cruise Lines, they have the Hub app, and for about $5 for the entire cruise, whoever gets that app can communicate through a chat message that they have on there. So if you want to let the kids know that you'll be out by the Lido deck, or if you met some friends and you want to meet for cocktails or something to eat, you can get in touch with them pretty easily that way. And that won't break the bank or give you any surprise charges later. Now remember, every cruise line will have something different, so make sure you check with them before your cruise to see what their app will do and how you connect with each other or back home. So as you can see, the general consensus of this tip is stay in airplane mode, research what your provider has to offer through your cell phone, double check your phone on occasion during the cruise to make sure you don't get any surprises, and if you're really worried about getting hit with cell phone charges, take that phone, throw it in your cabin safe, lock it up, and don't take it out till you get back to port on debarkation day. These have just been a few tips that might help you keep from incurring any huge cell phone charges when you get back from your cruise. If you have a cell phone story or any tips on how to save money using your cell phone at sea, please make sure you share them in the comments below. Thanks very much for watching. Again, we'd love for you to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you're always aware of new content. And from myself, Sharon, and Matthew here at Sharon at Sea, thanks again for watching, and happy cruising.